A wave breaks upon a beach and then recedes. The tide covers the land and then falls back into the sea. Land and sea, light and darkness, plant and animal, all obey the laws of nature. Man alone, setting himself above nature's law, has had to create his own law for ordering human events. But while nature's law is universal, man's is not.
A starfish left in a tide pool is an unimportant event, but it represents millions of years of obedience to natural law. The starfish obeys and survives.
The starfish may look unimportant, lying limply on his underwater shell. He may look unimportant to you, but he's very interesting to himself. It takes all kinds of people to make up a world, all kinds of people and things. They crawl on the earth, they swim in the sea, and they fly through the sky on wings. All kinds of people and things. And brother, I'll tell you my hunch. Whether you like them or whether you don't, you're stuck with the whole darn bunch.
It takes all kinds of people to make up a world full of people alive. They dig in the earth, they fish in the sea, they sit at a desk to survive.
All kinds of people and things. And brother, I'll tell you my hunch. Whether you like them or whether you don't, you're stuck with the whole darn bunch.
A fella is a farmer in Egypt, and Egypt is a very arid land. A fella's got to work like the devil himself to coax a little greenery from the sand.
In Japan, a man must go fishing if a man's family is to eat. Fishing's no sport for the Oriental. It's the closest thing he ever gets to meat.
A secretary in America doesn't seem to be working very hard. She takes her dictation, types it with ease, and is paid by an electronic card.
It takes all kinds of people to make up a world full of people alive. And whether you like it or whether you don't, we're here and we've got to survive.
The world is full of people.
All kinds of people.
Doing all sorts of things to survive.
Some very few people make their living in a complex industrial society. They are rich by the world's standards, eat well, and have many things.
But most people make their living directly from the earth itself. They have only primitive tools with which to work. They're poor and hungry, and they have very little.
Some very few people have had the good fortune to acquire an education. They can put their minds to work for them. They have leisure time and money. Money to enjoy themselves as they will.
But for most people, it's a struggle just to learn to read and write their own language. And most people must struggle very hard to survive by the sweat of their own physical labor. They work a long day and have little time for leisure.
Some very few people live in nations that spend much of their money preparing for war. Building jet airplanes. Missile-firing submarines. Giant intercontinental ballistic missiles carrying nuclear warheads. The weapons systems that people need to wage wars of mass destruction.
But most people live in nations that spend much of their money building irrigation systems, schools, hospitals, factories, new highway systems, sanitation systems, and dams and power plants, constructive things that people need to make life better for themselves.
The world is full of people, all kinds of people, doing all sorts of things to survive. But if the very few people who live in the very rich countries and who have most of the money and the education and the weapons ever use their weapons,
then the world will not be full of people anymore. And all the learning, and all the building that's been done by people everywhere throughout all time will have been done in vain.
For people cannot survive the fire of atomic weapons, nor the blast, nor the heat, nor the radioactive fallout. People cannot survive war anymore.
Today, the world is full of people, all kinds of people, doing all sorts of things to survive.
Acquiring all sorts of knowledge.
Worshiping God in all sorts of ways.
Creating all sorts of art and culture.
And adhering to all sorts of laws made and enforced by all sorts of governments everywhere, throughout the world.
For the rich people,
And the poor people,
the office workers,
and the farmers,
the educated,
and the ignorant,
the few,
and the many.
All people everywhere must respect the laws of their land. It's law made by man and enforced by man that enables all kinds of people to live at peace with each other within sovereign nations. But man's law is not yet universal. The rule of law stops at our national boundaries. There is no world law to keep peace between nations. The United Nations was established to keep peace. But how can it, when it doesn't have the power to make and enforce law between its sovereign members? How can it, when its operations can be brought to a standstill by one nation's veto? How can it when people, all kinds of people, just don't care?
It's up to you and to me and to everybody everywhere. The choice is clear. One world under law or the constant threat of war and no world at all. For only truly effective and enforceable world law can keep the peace among nations and make the world safe for its people. And today, the world is full of people. All kinds of people.
All kind of people to make up a world. And brother, I'll tell you my hunch. Whether you like them or whether you don't, you're stuck with the whole darn bunch.
And I'll tell you something else. Unless we can make the world safe for people, it's not likely to be safe for the starfish either.